Everybody knows it's the Dan Pyle Show.
Wow. It's 9:45 on a Wednesday evening. It's actually I'm flying solo tonight, and I'm so used to the crowd being around, and obviously they had other engagements this evening, so you're stuck with me. And of course we call it the Dan Pyle Show when nobody else is around. Thank you, Dave, for that introduction. This is a time of year when I really miss that old cat and his Santa Claus-ish ways. The name of the show this evening is "Put the Tea Back in Christmas," and I think that's something that I want to address personally because it's Christmas with the t sound should be in there. The T should be in there. If you're going to say it at all, please say it right. It's kind of what my thoughts on the whole matter is. We talked a little bit about our views on the whole Merry Christmas greeting last week, so I won't beat that dead horse. But I think this day and age in a civilized society, I think we've outgrown, hopefully, all of the bickering about what we should say and how we should say it. However, that is is not the case. Obviously, we get more and more sensitive about things every single day, and we talked a little bit of about that last week, and it'll probably continue forever. I think one thing that a lot of people are offended by now that they weren't last week is the French flag superimposed over profile pictures on Facebook. And I wanted to address that for a moment. Just take a moment and think about all of the people that went out last Friday, have a good time, and celebrate life as they know it, and not knowing that it'd be their last celebration or those last words that you were going to share with somebody. Last Friday was a stark reminder to all of us that life is very short and unpredictable, and sometimes it is all in the hands of another human being, and whether we like it or we don't. There was far too many people executed in Paris, and that's to me, I immediately changed as soon as Facebook put it on there. The profile picture, I put the French flag wash over the top of my profile picture, and it wasn't necessarily to support France or Paris or anything else. I think it was just to mourn as a human being the loss of life of another human being. It's senseless, and there's a lot of cowardice that goes into taking another life, and so it's very sad, and I support families and friends and those who grieve the loss that took place. And I think any human being in the right mind would do the same, rather than complain and cry and whine about the way somebody's profile picture looks. Let everybody deal with things in their own way, if you would, please. And stop imposing your view or the views of other people because you simply do not have one on everybody else. And just because you speak loudest doesn't mean that you're right. So there you go. There's my French flag rant. Later on I changed it to an American flag superimposed over my face, because there were Americans that were killed in Paris during that attack, and so my thoughts and prayers and well wishes go out to the families and friends of those that never made it back from Paris, and for all those who have died on a foreign shore. In the name of America, I salute you with that profile picture. So I know I'm such a high-profile character that everybody loves me and thinks highly of me, and I understand that that's not true either. But, I think I wanted to get that out of the way, clear the air. Since I'm the only one with an opinion here tonight, I'm correct, obviously. But, I think my counterparts would share in that idea that, this is humanity after all. We're all in this thing together, no matter what. And, if you're a refugee fleeing foreign soil to find a life, and I'm not saying a better life. Geez, I watch Facebook. We are about as united as the other end of a magnet, Boy, that was a great analogy, wasn't it? I might write that one down and save it for later. But, we're divided as a country. Our ideologies have changed over the years. Some have evolved and some have not. And I guess that's all a matter of opinion as well. But if I was looking for a place to live and I had my choice of anywhere, I would choose America. No matter what the differences are or what the similarities are, this is the greatest place in the world, I believe, to live. And no matter who is the president or who's not, I can still get in my car and I can drive all across this country and find human beings that some want something from me and some want nothing from me. There's good and bad amongst us all. And so when I think about people coming into this country and how I treat them and how there's supposed to be this deep-seated racism or whatever, that's a whole nother can of worms that I don't want to open up. But, I think about how I just treat people in general. And, if there were enough of me, I know, as hoish as I can be, if that's a word, that we would be okay. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect or that I am the greatest neighbor that anybody ever had, but I do have a respect, and I was taught a respect by the people that raised me for other people and their property, and to respect their way of thinking and their way of life. And you can be insulting to other people, but don't be vicious in those insults. I think we all need to laugh a hell of a lot more than what we do. And I think that's why we're very attracted to comedians, because they make us forget about our shithole lives for a while. I know you're tuned out by now. It's almost 10 o'clock. Anyhow, getting rid of all the serious stuff to begin with, and just to tell you that, at some time we'll find peace on earth. It won't be our time. But the best we can do during that period is to love one another just as best as we possibly can. Tolerate the views of others as we would really like them to tolerate ours. And understand that no matter what, we're all human. We all have emotion. We all know what it feels like to be without a home at some point. Not all of us have been safe and secure in the same place our entire lives. That we've had to make changes. So keep that in mind as you go through your daily walk, and we think about things that we believe are unjust in this world. They're going to exist. They have to. It has to be part of our lives. Not everybody can agree with me, which is good, because I can learn, and they can learn if they like, why we're different. We can appreciate why we're different. If everybody believed the way I did, this would be one shit-ass world, and that's a guarantee, because I got some pretty screwed up ideas about how life is or how it should be. So, it's just one of those things that maybe it was in my upbringing, or maybe it was in my downfall, or, my fall from humanity, or whatever you want to call it, that's made me appreciate, the life that I have, and understand that I'm the only one that can change it. I want something positive to change. That's on me. I can't get frustrated because I can't get everybody to listen to the way I want things to be, or, upset the apple cart because I just didn't get my way. It's not the way it works. I think more and more we're starting to see a lot of unrest because of that. We have some simple ideas that maybe if I raise enough ruckus, that, like ruckus is people in collegiate circles use that all the time, ruckus. If I raise enough ruckus that somebody's going to listen to what I say, or do what I do, and it's just not that way, and it hasn't been that way forever. It will end up annoying the majority of people that are just trying to get on with their life when you're disruptive with them or inconvenience them in any way. Just the way it is. The thing isn't to solve your problem to get you to go away. It's just to get you to go away. I don't need to solve your problem. And I think now more than ever, we find that to be a possibility, that, hey, all right, I'm going to tell you what you want to hear, just go away. And we never solve that problem. It never gets solved. So we go years and years and years with tensions building up, and nothing ever happens. So, my salute to those of you that struggle. I've had my own. I've gotten through my own. I still have to this day. There's a lot of things that annoy me or bother me, or I feel like if I just had that one big break, my whole life would change, but it's just not that way. So anyway, speaking of terrible breaks during my life, it is almost Thanksgiving, and it's coming up next Thursday. As a matter of fact, that's like 13 days away or something. But it's that one time a year, almost guaranteed, that my family gets together, and it's gotten a real sparse here over the last 10 years. Lost both sides of the family, so it's pretty much down to me and my brothers and their wives and families that get together, and usually we find out about 3 days before the event what we're going to do, what time we're going to do it, and what we need to bring. But it's always good to see them, get together with them, reminisce a little bit about past events. We don't get to do that enough. In fact, I see the coffee time people more than I see my own family, and they're right in the same neighborhood. So, but it's a commitment, and so every week we get together, and that was the way it was supposed to be. And again, there's obviously other commitments that everybody's tied to tonight of a higher value than getting together and shooting the crap and recording stuff. So, but when we get together, it's Thanksgiving tradition, I guess, to whip out the stories of old. And I think probably, going back a ways, it was always, I guess I considered it my grandmother's holiday, because we would go to her house and, there'd be turkey and ham and stuffing and potatoes and cranberry sauce. I haven't talked about that, but and then sweet potatoes and beets, and I don't even know what the hell else you put on the table. Rolls. I mean, there was enough for everybody and the neighbors to eat, and and I don't want to say it was a simpler time. Obviously, we didn't have cell phones to distract us while we ate and allowed us to communicate with the rest of the world. We sat there and we talked to each other. And not that we found out anything special, but it was just a time to bond and talk about life as it was, from the last time we saw each other, and which was generally the Sunday before. So, but it was just one of those times that was, and I think it was wholesome. Nobody cussed each other out and threw a fit, or, well, my mom did, but that was her way of bonding. But it was quiet, and we watched football on TV. There wasn't 30 games like there is now, but you could catch the NFL, and you watch the Lions, and then you watch the Cowboys game, and so that was how the whole day laid out. But you got up and we watched cartoons until the Thanksgiving Day parade came on. You watch the parade, and then you go to Grandma's house, and you have a wonderful time, and then you go home. And that was Thanksgiving. And then somewhere along the line, that Black Friday thing came along, and I'm not sure when that was or how muddied it got, but I don't remember my parents ever rushing out for Black Friday shopping. There was always the blue light special at the Kmart that caused the whole ruckus. As I've become more fond of that term during this, but as far as the Black Friday stuff, or who worked on Thanksgiving and who didn't, I didn't understand that until I actually started. I had a job, and but that place was closed on Thanksgiving, so we would stay and clean up the night before, the Wednesday night before, and obviously, by that time, what was I, 17, 18 years old, we drank pretty heavy. There was always somebody that could buy booze. And so we were good and proper for Thanksgiving dinner the next day, which kept getting later and later every year for a while there. And then, I always hoped that I could share these traditions with my kids and all of that, and that never quite worked out. But my daughter still has been, my oldest daughter anyway, has been with us the last few Thanksgivings, and that's been absolutely wonderful. And anytime I get to spend with my grandson, I try to pass on some of that love and attention and whatever with him that was freely given to me. So the holidays are kind of a time of year when I get all sappy about stuff. I don't know if it's a seasonal depression or whatever it is that comes up being. You could diagnose it if you like. I really don't give a shit. But I know it's just that time of year where, I kind of want to draw close to everybody that I love, and friends and family and all of that stuff. And Sometimes I get into that retreat mode too, where man, I just want to wall off from everybody and be done with it. So it's always a time when I reflect on things that have happened in the past and holidays in the past that did or didn't go my way, and all of that. But I talk about Christmas gifts and all of that. I mean, every year we'd get out that catalog. The kids don't have that catalog anymore, which probably saves a beating or two. Because I remember, me and my brothers, we'd fight over, well, I want this or I want that, and it's the same thing that you want, and we start negotiating over who's going to get it, and that was always a lot of fun to be able to do that. But it was always that time of year where it's cold outside and we're cramped in tight quarters, and there was always a lot of fighting and whatever. And I forgot about the worst part of this time of year was getting ready for the Christmas program at school or at church. I mean, we had a double whammy, really. I mean, I always envied the kids that didn't have to go to church and say Christmas. They had it lucky. We had to prepare for both the drama of singing in front of all the school kids, which was horrible. I still, to this day, I sing horrible. That has not changed one bit. And so I choose not to do it so much today as I used to then. I didn't choose to do it then, as a matter of fact. I was forced to do it, school policy or whatever it was then. I really don't know. I'm not on the school board, so I don't make those decisions on how we abuse kids. But I'm pretty sure that they do stupid stuff like that to kids, and it's humiliating. Sing like somebody kicked a cat, and you've got some actually good singers in your little chorus, and you make them sound horrible. So, I just do my best to sing as quietly as I could, and maybe hum along with the stuff that I didn't know. But it just seemed like it was very important for me to be perfect and know exactly what I needed to know, all the words of the song and all that garbage. So, and then there was the speaking parts, where and at some point I got over that intense shyness of speaking in public. I'm not necessarily sure when that happened, but I can pretty much say it did not happen while I was in grade school or possibly junior high. Because there was some horrible times where I had to memorize lines, and now everybody's parents are looking at me, and that cute girl over there is got her eyes on me, and she wouldn't notice me any other time, so I better get it right. And I invariably I got it right, but boy, I was one sweaty son of a bitch doing that. No one. Don't want to screw that up. That price of admission free would have really cost, and then I look like an asshole for another year. Try to redeem myself maybe at the next Christmas play or whatever. But those were horrible times, and I think back now, and there was 3 of us boys, and my parents had to put up with all 3 of us getting our lines memorized and being just little assholes that we were, and then you always got to have a new Christmas sweater, and you always got to have which we were definitely not well to do, so it was an acrylic type of, I don't even know what that material was anymore. It was made out of super itchy stuff, and the more you sweat, the more it itched, and we would we'd generally get done with the night, and everybody would be a sweating mess, and you're like, why in the hell did they have the heat on in this gymnasium? And then you understand that they probably didn't. It was just your nerves and all of that. So we get down to it. You have the cookies and the punch and all of that stuff, which I'm pretty sure is nutritionally sound in today's market. But back then, who cared? We still had phys ed in school, or PE as we called it then. We still ran around, and our digestive systems hadn't slowed down to the point where we were continually fat. And my brothers were heavier than I was, so I don't think it was the cookies and the punch at school. I think it was the cartoons after school, and well, I can't say that either. They were pretty active for some time. I mean, I'm hyperactive, so it'd be one of those struggles to get them to do stuff, and we'd get into some huge fights over that. And okay, so that's why I hate the winter. If that makes any sense at all. So yeah, going back to school days though, you got off for Thanksgiving, and it was like what, 3 weeks or something. It may have been shorter than that, but when I recall things, they were always a little bit grander than what they actually are. So you got like 3 weeks off for Thanksgiving. You went back for a couple days, and then it was Christmas break, which was about another 6 weeks or so. And then at some point it would snow during that time if you were lucky. I don't remember many years where there wasn't snow somewhere within that period of time. And then it was on, snowball fights and all of that, and the little nerdy kid with glasses, me, would always get pounded in the face with snowball. It just had to happen. I'm not sure exactly why glasses attract snowballs, but they do. In the years after that, I didn't get hit so much in the face, but it seemed like every time from the time I put those ugly big frame things, and it may have been that they were too big for my head, quite possibly. So it didn't really attract the snowball. Anything near my head was going to knock my glasses off. But you can get them big sons of bitches on and go outside and play for a little while. And, he had like 17 layers of clothes because my mom was extremely overprotective. So inside that suit was like a balmy 150, maybe 160 degrees. And so you go outside and you're playing a little bit. You're sweating like crazy. Puddles of perspiration in the boots and so forth. And you come inside, and the first thing that happens is those big old goggles would fog up, and I couldn't see anything for quite some time. I'd take them off. It was even worse. So I'm trying to peek through those steamy glasses to see the world, and it was the best of times. It was the worst of times because I remember we'd just get in fights over he was picking on me or whatever it was. It's snow, for Christ's sake. I didn't pronounce the T there, did I? Maybe I did. Anyway, that's my experience there with school plays and pageants and all that garbage. And now, on the other side of that, we got to go to church. Okay, and then we went to church. Every year is like they added a new level of stuff to that Christmas play. So it was bad enough when you had to be married because there wasn't no girls in your class, and then so like the next year you got to be a donkey because there is a girl, and then and you're the worst actor and you can't remember your lines and all of that garbage. Then it may not happen to you. It's probably just all on me, and And then, if you're lucky, you get to be a shepherd, wear a bathrobe, and a towel on your head, and just stand there and say very little and act frightened when the angel was talking and wish that you were the angel because, well, people like angels. I mean, the shepherd's a dirty little bastard with a bathrobe on. So, right, I know. And then we'd always have to have a damn sweater for that, too. So it was like two acrylic sweaters within a month. And life couldn't get any worse until it was time for you to get your treats at church, and they always had fruit. Wait a minute. Hang on. I got an orange and an apple here. Now at school it was a little more humiliating. I had to sing in front of these people. I couldn't hide underneath a towel in a bathrobe, but they gave me cookies and they gave me punch and then probably a candy cane when I left. But at church they gave me an apple and an orange. I guess that's what shepherds eat. I'm not really sure why that was like that, but I know at school they understood what hyperactive kids ate, and that was cookies and punch. So I think they got that right, at least. Beyond the humiliation, that was a hell of a prize. So we're out of school 100 million times. I made a list for Santa Claus. It was about 3.5 miles long, and and I swear to you, I thought I was gonna get it all, and then my parents come back with some rationale, some Santa Claus logic, which isn't really helpful to tell you the truth. I was thinking back on it now. It shouldn't have made any sense, but it made perfect sense to me as a kid. But Santa's sleigh couldn't hold this, or the Santa had some bad investments, and he couldn't afford those things. I think they were telling me about themselves more than probably I needed to know. Santa spent too much time at the casino, or down at the tavern. He just couldn't afford the stuff this year, or maybe he got laid off. And I'm not I'm not certain that Santa works during the year, but obviously ours did. And so anyhow, it always astounds me how I bought into that. I mean, I really did. I'm a hook, line, and sinker into that thing. That's why I dig all the Facebook stuff now. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on that. But anyway, the whole Santa Claus thing. We had this neighbor for the longest time. I think we moved out of the house in 1980, so I would have been about 9 years old. But up to that time, we had a neighbor who dressed up like Santa Claus every year. He was part of the Masons Lodge or something like that. And anyway, so he played Santa Claus wherever Masons play Santa Claus. I'm not really sure, but and I never ever made the connection that that dude was Santa Claus and Santa Claus wasn't real. Oops, sorry, kids. May have burst your bubble there a little bit, but he's not real in the sense that he's your neighbor. That's what I meant. But anyhow, oh, my parents are gonna kill me. Anyhow, my mom hated me very much. Not necessarily with a fiery passion, but just enough. I think just enough just to keep the law off her ass. But she hated me, and so she would have, like, we're being naughty boys, I guess, and this would have been before my little brother was old enough to really cause a trouble with us, and so it'd just be me and my older brother, and we'd be in our room playing, and our room was actually on the corner of the house that was closest to the neighbors, and um, so my mom called over to the neighbor and said, "Hey, these boys are out of control. Can you come over and knock on the window?" She knew he was going out to play Santa Claus, and sure enough, he did. And he came over and he knocked on the window, and we opened up the curtains, and there's Santa Claus. And he points his finger at us with a pretty stern look on his face, which meant to me I was in some big shit trouble if Santa Claus actually went out of his way to come down and point his finger. I mean, that's a serious warning that all that list was almost null and void. And so anyway, that's how my mom would abuse me when I was a kid. As if it's abuse is a great idea. I would use it on my kids in a heartbeat. I'm sure you would too. But it was. And that was a different time, where you could count on neighbors to mess with your kids and not in the way that we think neighbors might mess with our kids today. We ran freely through the neighborhood and all of that, and that's what I love most about Christmas, and that's the part that I miss the most about Christmas, is that we've made such a big deal out about the wrong thing. It's not about what you say; it's about what you do. Where's that spirit? Do I bring that spirit into my life, into my job, into my family, into my church, into my school, whatever it might be? Is that still there? Is that magic still there? As I watch my grandson go through his his terror of Christmas, which you have to. Everything's cool until you gotta face Santa Claus. Once you have to do that, then things are over. You start reconsidering your priorities on the toy list. I mean, this might get serious here in a minute, because that dude does not look, the mall Santa. He does not look good. He does not look like a good, wholesome figure of Christmas. So you really got to think about those things. And I watch him when we talk about that, and when we'll be out in public where there might be a Santa Claus, and just kind of freaks him out. And I think it's the cutest thing in the world, but I would never ever abuse him with that. I wouldn't have Santa Claus come and knock on the window and make him settle down or anything like that. But just to see that wonder in his eyes, and his imagination going a million miles a minute. And I don't know if it's when we finally understand that there's no Santa Claus, that most of us have flipped that imagination off and find it's not worthwhile anymore, or what it is. But it seems like, and I hope to God it's true, that he will continue to develop what he has going on in his head. There's some wonderful things that we get to witness, and it reminds me a lot of me. I think is probably why I like it the most. But it's when does that switch flip off for a lot of people, and then we become hateful and hurtful to one another, and I think if we all go back and we just flip that switch on, it doesn't need to be Santa Claus, and it just has to be that maybe there's this false belief that human beings are decent, maybe we can buy into that for a little bit, and then I'll get some radical weirdo saying, well, you do that and you'll get killed. And you know what? That's okay with me. I mean, that would be easier than going on having to put up with a lot of people's snotty shit, But could we all buy into that? Could we buy into it for a day? And everybody says, well, it's a commercialization of Christmas, and that's like a $3 word for me, and I've only got $1.50. But is it the commercialization of Christmas that ruins everything? And I'm not necessarily sold on that, because it was very commercial as I was growing up, and it was a very wonderful time for me when I was growing up. So I just can't buy into a lot of the things that people were trying to sell these days. And do I think it should be a wonderful time and a magical time throughout the year? Sure, why not? I mean, my parents used to pull the Santa Claus mind control trick on us every year, and that seemed to work all right. Kept me out of prison, so that was pretty good. And I'm not saying that all people in prison didn't have that done to them. I don't know, but the whole simple idea, and I think that's what gets lost. Sometimes we try to overthink way too many things, and we ruin it by being adults. We have to have our own way, or it has to be this way or that way. I really, really think, that my grandson thinks in gray a lot of times. I don't think everything's black and white with him. I don't think it needs to be. I think he can keep that open mind and keep that imagination and be a wonderful, wonderful addition to the human race as he grows up. I see a lot of things within him that care and compassion. He's just a wonderful little kid, and I see that a lot more in children than I do in adults. And quite honestly, it frightens me to think that will ever change with them, but obviously it does. And that it's sad that we get to that point, but we get to that point, and that's the reality. So this Christmas time this year, I implore you to turn off the switch, the black and white or this or that keeps you from enjoying the holiday or allowing other people to enjoy the holiday, and just love one another and celebrate the innocence and the imagination and the wonder, the magic of Christmas. It's been an interesting 45 minutes. I've taken you past the news of the day, and hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of this. Next week, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go down, but it's going to go down, and we'll be here. If you want to catch me Friday night, I'll be downtown Alton at the lighting of the Christmas tree down there, so hope to see you there. Thank you all.
Everybody knows it's the Dan Pyle Show.